Hi everyone, welcome to this channel. I'm UZUEGBU and today I have a special guest with me. I'd like to introduce my friend who is a certified guardian counselor. Would you believe that? Her name is UZUEGBU. Please welcome her with me. So today we want to be touching some kind of topic that has some triggers, and it's about domestic violence. As a Christian girl, I've always wanted to have a happily ever after story, right? But I found out that that's not the reality for a lot of people, because at some point some people's lives get endangered. As someone who really wants to live right by God, live right by man, what would you advise a girl who her life is being endangered because of domestic violence, right? What would you advise they do at that particular time? Like, do you advise they stay and try to change the man? Do you advise they enjoy it for 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What is your advice and your take on this?
Well, for me, when it comes to domestic violence, I don't advise anybody to stay.
Wow.
Because your life is very important. Very, very important.
Actually,
On the case where you have kids, you actually need to save your life for your kids. Some people say, "Oh, I'm enjoying this because of my kids."
yeah, that's what a lot of people
It's
say.
not a good thing, because your kids will want you alive. So for me, I always like when I hear some marital issues. When it comes to domestic violence, it's something I dread. Domestic violence is something I don't like, and I would never advise anybody, not even my enemy, to stay in a domestic violence marriage.
Like Christians always say, there's nothing God cannot do. What God does not do does not exist. It's like a common lingo these days. Is there a possibility that a man, because most times we courted this men, like we had actual relationships with these men, and sometimes some people say they didn't see the traits, which I don't believe, because I feel everyone would show themselves at some point, except you decide to turn a blind eye to it. Is there a possibility that if you cut him some slack, give him a year, give him 2 years, give him some time, that he will change, instead of just dumping the marriage and running off?
Well, it's possible, because I'm also a Christian and I believe in God. So there's nothing God cannot do. Like what they say, what God cannot do does not exist. There can be a miracle, when it comes to things like that. But before the miracle is done, my sister, let's give. It's not like I won't advise someone to just leave her marriage, but let her leave the domestic violence environment at a point in time.
That's a
and then they can actually work on other things, but save your life first. Save your life. For me, that's what I think, because the thing they call domestic violence is very deep. It's deep. It's really deep. When a man starts beating a woman, it's always very difficult for them to stop.
I agree. Sometimes, these things are bad habits that are formed over time, and when you start doing it and getting away with it, you just have, the need to stop. So is there a drastic thing somebody can do to, just stop the man from?
No, there's none. So for me, I feel most men that beat their wife, most of them are battling with trauma. And for those kind of men, it's not something that they will just stop all of a sudden. They actually have to work on themselves. They have to accept and admit that they have a problem first and foremost,
Which they hardly do.
Yes,
Which any man. I don't know if it's the
before they
ego.
work on before they work on themselves. So it's not something the woman can do. Yes, the woman can pray to God, to her God. She can look forward for a miracle, which is possible. But at that point in time, please, if your life is at stake, please, you have to leave. Not leave the marriage per se, but leave the environment.
Yes, there's something about an environment where someone knows he can victimize you. Actually, because if he knows that he's going to encounter a counter challenge when he wants to beat you, if you're not in that environment, he will hold himself. But if you're in that environment where he feels like he's in charge of you, I think he will still beat you, even if
Yes.
it's just for the slightest reason,
Yes.
you know.
I know of a couple, the man, he'll have a problem with his wife in the morning or in the afternoon. He won't react. It's in the night. He'll come and wake her up and give her a dirty slap. I'm telling you, he doesn't beat her in the
Can
daytime.
you imagine?
He beats her at night.
Can you imagine when everyone has gone to sleep,
in fact,
the kids are
before doing
asleep?
that, you know what he does? He will break her phone first. So that
Oh
her
my God!
to her phone, and then he will beat her. She can't call anybody.
Oh my
crazy.
God! This is close to being demonic, if not even demonic.
It is actually. So what would you say about that kind of person? Would you advise the wife to stay and wait for a miracle? No. Even God wants her to leave the environment at that point in time.
Yes, I agree
and
with
then
you.
the man has to admit that there's a problem. And most men don't admit that.
I know.
When some things like this happen, you ask you things like, what did you do? What did you see?
Exactly. You know, our society doesn't help us well. You know, sometimes you have like an argument with, you know, another gender, and everybody already victimizes the female one, even without hearing their part, because most of them already imagine, oh, she has a sharp mouth, oh, she must have done something, oh, she must have pushed him, oh, she must have said something spiteful that, you know, triggered the anger. There's always something to victimize a female without even listening to her own side. And I think it's time for women to, you know, get up and nip this danger, because it's getting out of hand and it's becoming unbearable. We are losing countless women to domestic violence. And I don't know why, because marriage is supposed to be a beautiful thing. Because I'm an ambassador for marriage. I love good marriages. I love when I see good marriages, because there's just so much, not even for when you're young. Like, I think I have the most admiration for old couples who are still in love. Whenever I see them, I cannot even hold myself. I just go over and I'm like, I admire your union. I want to be like, maybe because that's something I want to, you know, embody.
Very true.
Yeah.
I feel like marriage is supposed to be sweet. Marriage is supposed to be enjoyed and not to be endured. Marriage is amazing.
That's true.
Yeah, marriage is very amazing. When you end up with the right person, marriage is beautiful.
That's true.
You know, but it's just quite unfortunate. Some people don't, you know, some people are not lucky, or is that the right word to use? A lot of people are not lucky with marriage, but marriage is beautiful.
And you know, I heard something recently, and it was a sermon by Pastor Jerry Eze. And he said something about raising our boys, because I think that's where the bulk of that job is. Because if you do not raise this boy child well, he cannot be a good man. If you raise the bad boy, just know you're going to have a bad man. And because truly, when we're doing parenting and all that, we focus more on our girls, because we want to preserve them. We want them to do the right things. We want them to, you know, keep their bodies. We want them, and then we kind of neglect the boy child. And I noticed that, you know, there's so much favoritism to the boy child, and while, you know, being hard on the girl. And, you know, while you're being hard on the girl, you do not know you're training her. And then the boys are just coasting. They're just coasting. And at the end of the day, you're wondering what happened. Meanwhile, you didn't sow the seed you're meant to sow when they were little. Because if you raise the good boy, teach them how to respect female, teach them how to respect their sisters, you know, because that's where it starts most times. Because when you see a boy sibling and a girl sibling, most times they always clash, and that's because they're trying to have power, show who is superior. I'm the boy here. But if you leave that in the bud while they're still young, they will grow up with a certain respect for women. You know, they know that, oh, I can't beat my sister, so why should I beat my wife? I can't speak to my sister anyhow, because it starts with their tone when they're talking to the female gender. And before you know it, they mature and they continue with such bad. So this is a call to mothers as well. Please pay attention to parenting. I'm so big on parenting. I actually have something that I do on the side for parenting, because I believe this whole menace starts from the family. It starts from the family. It starts from the foundation. Let's not blame it on the society. Let's not blame it on the fathers. I've seen people who came from a family where they had domestic violence, and maybe the mother was able to convince the child that this was wrong, and the child purposed in his heart that I would never be a man beater. So this domestic violence, most times, it also affects the psychics of our kids, because the kids are watching, and we all know these kids don't listen to what we are saying. They are mostly listening to what we are doing. They are watching what we are doing. They are following your footsteps. When you turn the other way, they are trying to act like mommy. They are trying to act like daddy. They are trying to act like their higher selves. So when you have a father who is a man beater and you think the child is not watching, he's watching, and not just watching, he's learning. And he's seeing the outcome of such practices. And most times when there's no outcome, at the end of the day, the man will say, my wife, I'm sorry, he will beg, and so he understands that, I can get away with this thing. These things are things that people, it's a normal thing, There's an adage in the Igbo land, that says that a child who behaves like the father does nothing wrong. Do you understand? So when you see, when people say those kind of things and the child is looking at himself and he's growing up to be like his toxic father, and he sees that in his mind he's not doing anything wrong, because that's the normal he grew up with. So parenting has a huge role to play in this domestic violence thing. It's so annoying. It's so heartbreaking for me when I see marriages break. I'm heartbroken. Like I'm genuinely sad. Maybe I got good examples of parents, like I don't want to see it. I don't want to see marriages break. I'm so big on marriage, and I'm so big on parenting. It started with loving marriage, and then my passion for parenting even grew deeper, because I understood that if we do not fix the problems of parenting in this generation, the future generation is ruined. Like, we've lost them, because even the generation after us, like, I see some of the things they do, and I'm wondering, are they not cultured enough? I'm a millennial, and when we're growing up, there are things that were normal. There were things that you cannot do. Do you understand? You will not do it in front of your mother. You won't even do it in front of the neighbors, because the neighbor, the community raises the children.
Everybody.
Exactly. But right now, we have gone into a certain kind of lifestyle that everybody minds their business. So they see a child doing wrong, and they're like, I don't want issues. I won't say anything. And the child keeps spoiling. You might be saying, I'm training my own very well. My own is very perfect. He doesn't behave like this ones I see on the street. But the world is so funny. You know why? Because when they get to school, he has to coexist with those ones that have been raised badly. That's why I try to reach out, not just to my own children, to people in the community, because if you train the community right, then your child is safe. Do you understand what I mean? Because these children are quick to pick up negative traits.
Very quick.
They are very quick to. So you might do all your homework in your own side, like on your own part. You have done your assignment, you have taken care of your child, you have trained him properly. But I'm advocating to parents, while I'm doing my own job, please can you do your own job, so that this society can be safer, because that's the only way we can have a saner nation. From what we have said today, it's a no-no for domestic violence. So if you find yourself in that situation of domestic violence, please, I beg you, take yourself out of that equation. If you do not want to live there, in a body bag, remove yourself, literally. Take yourself out of that space. Save your life. For your children's sake, because even you have a destiny to fulfill, right? So if you find yourself there, take yourself out. There's a number on the screen right now. It's a helpline. Call that line and you will find help, right? Leave that place first, and then try to work on the marriage from his safe zone. If it's something that is repairable, trust me, if he really loves you, if he truly cares about you, he would work on himself and try to do the right things to keep you. But your life is most important. It will be a mess to lose your life. It will be a disappointment even to God, because to each one we're called for different purposes, and he's looking up to you to fulfill your own purpose, right? So do not die for marriage sake. Please do not die. Your children need you. Beyond that, your parents need you, your family need you, your friends need you. We all need you alive, because the world is going to be better with you around, right? Thank you. Do you have any last words to add?
She said it all. So say no to domestic violence. Say no to domestic violence. Take yourself out of that situation
completely. Thank you for watching up until this point.
And please like, comment, and share.
And also, do not forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you.
Bye.